In this podcast episode, Kevin O'Leary and Cenk Uygur engage in an extensive conversation covering a wide spectrum of critical and timely issues. They delve into the challenges and opportunities posed by artificial intelligence, AI, the geopolitical complexities surrounding the ongoing Iran war, the future of employment in an AI-driven economy, and the shifting political landscape in America, with rising discussions about socialism and capitalism. Their dialogue explores competing perspectives on economic disruption, technological advancement, international conflict, and domestic politics. The discussion opens with a deep dive into the impact of AI on the workforce, where Cenk expresses grave concerns about impending widespread unemployment triggered by AI-driven automation. He highlights disquieting projections suggesting that up to 10 to 25% of jobs could be eliminated, possibly leading to unemployment reaching 10%, which he equates to a depression-level economic crisis. Cenk emphasizes that this wave of job losses is not speculative, but already underway, noting that CEOs of AI companies have publicly acknowledged the disruptive potential of AI on employment. He raises the issue of younger coders losing jobs to AI tools and the even greater challenge older workers, such as truck drivers or assembly line workers, might face in retraining and adapting. Cenk stresses the absence of governmental or economic plans to handle this transition, warning of a societal crisis without adequate preparation. Kevin O'Leary counters this doom-laden outlook with a perspective focused on opportunity and historical context. He argues that while change is disruptive, it has consistently driven productivity and economic growth for over 2 centuries. Kevin insists AI will create new, high-paying jobs, including large employment prospects in emerging industries like space exploration, data center construction, and advanced technological endeavors. He dismisses apocalyptic fears, including the hyperbolic robots eating children narrative, and claims that the fears about AI-induced unemployment are exaggerated and overlooking future opportunities. He notes that the market and investment trends reflect optimism, citing record highs in the S&P 500 driven by companies adopting AI for productivity gains. The debate also touches on the practical challenges posed by AI-related infrastructure, such as data centers. Kevin shares concerns about misinformation campaigns opposing data center construction, exposing what he claims to be Chinese-backed interference aimed at disrupting American AI progress. He recounts detailed forensic investigations linking funding from mysterious entities in Utah back to Chinese actors working through groups like Arabella. He emphasizes the geopolitical stakes of winning the AI race with China and stresses that AI infrastructure development, including building power plants to supply data centers, is critical despite local opposition and misinformation. Their dialogue extends into AI's strategic implications in global conflicts, particularly the Iran war and broader US-China competition. Kevin points out that future warfare will likely rely heavily on AI-driven technologies for precision strikes and defense capabilities. He warns that maintaining technological dominance, especially in AI, is vital for national security and could determine future military outcomes. He contrasts America's regulatory and environmental constraints with China's aggressive coal-powered infrastructure build-out, suggesting that China's disregard for environmental concerns enables rapid military-industrial growth unmatched by the U.S. Cenk expresses grave ethical concerns over AI use in military operations, citing reports of AI-guided targeting resulting in civilian casualties, notably referencing an attack on a girls' school in Tehran. He voices strong distrust of surveillance and control technologies developed by entities like Palantir, particularly concerning the erosion of privacy and increased militarization enabled by AI. Cenk worries about a future in which military application of AI may lead to more indiscriminate violence and diminished accountability. The conversation pivots toward an in-depth analysis of the ongoing Iran war and the complex geopolitical dynamics of the Middle East. Cenk takes a critical stance on U.S. involvement and Israel's role, presenting the view that American interests are not aligned with Israeli ambitions in the region. He accuses Israeli leadership of orchestrating U.S. foreign policy decisions that escalate conflict for their own territorial gains, including invasions of Lebanon and occupation of Gaza, facilitated by massive U.S. military and financial support. Cenk argues that Israel's actions increase regional instability and foster anti-American sentiment globally. Kevin acknowledges the long-standing complexity in the region, but frames it somewhat differently. He sees the Iran regime as destabilizing and dangerous due to proxies and missile programs, emphasizing the need to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons and controlling the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial maritime passage for global energy supplies. Kevin is cautiously optimistic that regional cooperation and international agreements could eventually stabilize the area, citing potential policing arrangements for the strait involving neighboring countries. He stresses the importance of maintaining security in global energy markets and preventing nuclear proliferation. Both express skepticism about current prospects for peace. Cenk points to repeated sabotage of peace efforts by Israeli influence and powerful lobbying within U.S. politics, asserting that ongoing military aggression by Israel undermines any meaningful resolution. He highlights the high civilian death tolls and destruction attributed to Israeli military tactics and accuses much of the mainstream media of suppressing critical perspectives on these issues due to pro-Israel biases. Kevin, while more tempered, also anticipates ongoing tension, but believes a sustainable arrangement is possible with multilateral involvement and the eventual weakening of Iranian hardliners under economic and political pressures. A significant portion of the discussion covers energy issues tied to AI infrastructure, specifically the challenges of powering data centers. Kevin reveals his investigations into misinformation and opposition campaigns rooted in foreign-funded groups trying to block new power projects essential for AI growth. He asserts that such opposition hampers America's competitiveness against Chinese industrial expansion and is part of a broader strategic effort by adversaries to stifle U.S. technological advancement. He proposes that new data centers should be required to provide their own power and contribute surplus energy back to regional grids, alleviating community power shortages. Cenk agrees that increased energy costs from data centers are a legitimate concern for local communities and argues that companies building such centers must bear the costs without subsidization from taxpayers or consumers. He advocates for a model where the public shares in the equity of such enterprises if they are to shoulder the energy expense, drawing parallels to the 2008 financial bailouts where the government missed opportunities to claim ownership stakes. Both agree that energy and infrastructure planning is vital to AI's future, but diverge on how much to trust corporate and political actors to manage this responsibly. The latter part of the conversation turns toward American politics, analyzing voter sentiment, the potential rise of socialism, and the electoral outlook for upcoming midterms and the 2028 presidential election. Kevin views the Democratic Party as having lost direction, calling for moderate leadership more focused on pragmatic job creation. He views socialism in its extreme forms as unlikely to succeed in presidential politics, noting historical pendulum swings between capitalist and socialist ideas every few decades. He warns that overly aggressive tax policies could drive wealthy individuals and entrepreneurs out of states, hurting economic growth. Cenk presents a more pessimistic view of the current political environment, highlighting the erosion of middle-class economic security driven by corporate dominance and crony capitalism. He distinguishes the present-day system as corporatism rather than genuine capitalism, where money in politics stifles democratic accountability and perpetuates inequality. Cenk foresees rising voter frustration manifesting as populist movements on both the left and right, with calls for significant change. He warns that without addressing wealth disparities and power concentration, America risks political instability and social unrest. Both discuss the possibility of alternative political figures emerging, such as GOP media personality Tucker Carlson, who might leverage social media and populist support to gain influence. Cenk suspects that current voter enthusiasm, particularly within the Republican base, is waning, suggesting uncertain election outcomes. The audience's growing favorability towards socialism, particularly among young Americans, is noted, although the debate centers on what form socialist policies might take and whether they can be integrated into a democratic capitalist framework akin to Northern European models. Throughout the episode, The guests touch on the broader societal impact of technological change. Kevin highlights the potential for AI to democratize education, improve healthcare breakthroughs such as cancer cures, and open new frontiers like space travel. He encourages embracing innovation as a path toward new economic opportunities. Cenk, while acknowledging technological progress, urges caution and emphasizes the social costs, particularly the risk of rising unemployment and inequality. He promotes middle-out economics and policies that strengthen the purchasing power of the middle class to maintain a functioning consumer economy. Concerns about surveillance, privacy, and the uses of AI in tracking citizens are also raised, warning of an encroaching surveillance state enabled by new technologies without adequate regulatory frameworks. The guests agree that some regulation is necessary, but acknowledge the difficulty of rapid policymaking in a fast-evolving tech environment, compounded by political corruption and influence from powerful corporate interests. In closing, both Kevin O'Leary and Cenk Uygur assert the importance of honest discourse and pragmatic approaches to managing upheaval caused by AI, political shifts, and geopolitical tensions. They stress that while uncertainty and risks abound, the future depends heavily on leadership choices, democratic accountability, and the ability to balance technological ambition with social responsibility and ethical governance.